History education currently suffers from a structural failure. Students are taught to memorize a series of isolated dates and locations, completely divorced from the causal chains that link them together. Take two standard textbook milestones, the fall of Constantinople in 1453 and Columbus's voyage in 1492. Because these are taught in different chapters, the traditional format has broken the link between them. What is missing from the curriculum is the geographic and economic reality. The Ottoman capture of Constantinople severed the primary overland trade route between Europe and Asia. That physical blockage across continents is the exact catalyst that forced European powers to seek a new naval route westward 39 years later. Universities spend $347 million annually on digital history tools that fail to bridge this comprehension gap, leaving students unable to identify more than a single causal factor from major global events. This missing element is the historical butterfly effect, the mechanism by which a seemingly isolated event in one location triggers massive interconnected consequences across geography and subsequent eras. If a digital education tool does not make this spatial and temporal causality visible, it operates merely as an expensive memorization aid rather than a genuine learning platform. This image introduces EchoTrace, a platform engineered to map these complex spatial and temporal data connections. To understand how this intervention scales, we have to split the platform into two distinct entities. On the left is EchoTrace the product. This is an interactive three-dimensional interface built in HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, designed directly for students to navigate historian profiles and historical environments. On the right is EchoTrace the startup. This is a B2B SaaS infrastructure company targeting institutional procurement cycles with annual contracts yielding a lifetime value of $35,000 through geographic expansion licenses. EchoTrace functions as neutral scholarly infrastructure. It provides the access architecture, similar to JSTOR, leaving the content creation to the institutions themselves. The student-facing product exists specifically to generate the verifiable pedagogical data that history departments require to justify the startup's B2B infrastructure contracts. The engine operates on a pedagogical methodology called spatial historiography. This teaches history through the integrated navigation of geography, time, and evidence. The framework maps this across three axes. First is the x-axis, representing physical space. This allows users to navigate horizontally between separate locations while holding a fixed frozen moment in time to observe simultaneous events. Next is the y-axis, representing historical time. Here, you lock onto a single geographic node and travel vertically through successive eras, from Roman to Umayyad to Crusader. Moving vertically proves that empires separated by centuries often exploit the exact same geography for identical strategic and economic reasons. The core differentiator is the z-axis, representing evidentiary depth, or epistemic transparency. Here, users scrutinize the raw data. The axis contains comprehensive historian profiles, revealing who documented the claim, their specific bias tags, and modern scholarly confidence indexes regarding the evidence base. Reliable historical analysis depends on the simultaneous tracking of location, timing, and the specific agenda of the narrator. Many educational technology companies fall into the content trap. They attempt to aggregate historical narratives and sell the facts, rather than providing the navigational framework. As this document snippet indicates, existing interactive tools fail to provide both source verification and clear causality explanations. Competitors like Timeline.js can show you when an event happened, and StoryMap.js can show you where. But none of them integrate space, time, and multi-perspective source transparency simultaneously. This internal table reveals how EchoTrace engineered its prototype specifications explicitly to outpace those three competitors, by making source comparison its primary value proposition. They initially considered assigning arbitrary 0 to 100 trust scores, but removed that system. Instead, the platform presents the raw evidence base, forcing students to read the sources and judge the historical bias for themselves. This means a student reading about the Arab Revolt doesn't just read a summary. They evaluate the exact physical proximity, access, and agenda of individuals like T.E. Lawrence. The platform's unique market position is the interactive side-by-side presentation of competing historical biases. With the pedagogical value established, we look at how this deploys through EchoTrace, the startup. EchoTrace provides the central navigation engine, while partner universities populate it with regional expertise. This creates a continuous flow of high-quality historical data directly into the engine, removing the burden of original content creation. In return, the universities receive fully branded geographic corridors to deploy immediately within their own curriculums. The non-negotiable core value sustaining this entire network is epistemic neutrality. The engine is structurally designed to display all perspectives simultaneously. The interface makes it mechanically impossible to filter out opposing sources without breaking the software's functionality. If a perspective is removed, the causal logic chain collapses. Neutrality here is a hard-coded architectural constraint, not a flexible editorial policy. By providing the infrastructure rather than dictating the narrative, EchoTrace resists ideological capture, establishing a scalable and trusted scholarly commons. Institutions sign annual contracts to access specific corporate services within this pipeline. The first two stages cover licensing the core three-dimensional framework and the content management system, allowing departments to efficiently upload regional data. These final stages include dedicated cloud hosting and integration training designed to hit specific pedagogical targets, like the 70% threshold for causality comprehension identified in early pilot testing. These contracts produce highly profitable unit economics. A single university customer costs $2,500 to acquire, but yields a lifetime value of $35,000. This model triggers a powerful network effect. As more universities build and upload their specialized corridors, the platform's global historical coverage expands organically without incurring additional content costs. EchoTrace monetizes the architectural framework of history, leveraging the world's academic institutions to do the heavy lifting of global expansion. We can now return to the initial paradox, the severed connection between the fall of Constantinople and Columbus's voyage. EchoTrace repairs this pedagogical gap by deploying its three-axis system directly into the timeline. By plotting Ottoman records of trade disruption alongside Spanish sources on exploration motivations down the z-axis, the causal link becomes undeniable. This multi-perspective engagement allows students to identify 3 or more causal factors per event, reaching the 70% comprehension threshold identified as a success metric for institutional adoption. The user experience solves the immediate pain point for the student, which in turn generates the hard outcome data necessary to close the institutional procurement cycles. Over time, this creates an infrastructure moat. EchoTrace is building a proprietary, peer-reviewed database architecture of historian credibility that takes years to compile and cannot be easily replicated by competitors. Generating pure historical content is not a defensible business strategy, but building neutral, verifiable infrastructure creates a permanent asset. True historical comprehension is strictly impossible without transparent, side-by-side access to competing biases. EchoTrace focuses entirely on engineering the framework of history, allowing humanity's varied perspectives to fill in the rest. The mission is exact: to become the definitive, epistemically honest infrastructure for navigating the butterfly effect of history.